Hello! Welcome back to the Long Distance Love Bombs podcast. I am your host, Dr. Jeremy Goldberg, and today's guest is Tyreek Moore. Ty is an executive at the Handel Group, which is one of the largest life coaching and executive coaching firms in the world. He is the president of their diversity group. He's also the president of their sports division. Ty had a fascinating upbringing. He grew up in the Bronx, which is one of the poorest neighborhoods in New York. He grew up during the crack epidemic back in the day, lots of violence around, bullets flying past his head. And he had a wild journey of support and encouragement, ended up going to Harvard University, getting a master's degree. He founded his own IT company. He's had a wild ride, and he has a lot of insights to share about that process. He integrates personal development teachings with his own lived experiences to talk about what he calls authoring your life story. Talks about diving deep, doing the work, understanding your traits and habits, why you do the things that you do. It's a good conversation, and Ty basically just spits knowledge nonstop in this one. I think you're really gonna dig his energy and enthusiasm. Plus, the content that he shares is fire. It's so good, and I think you're gonna love it. So without further ado, Ty Moore. Oh, final thing, Ty is part of the Handel Group, who is where I get my coaching from. And they have amazing programs. I've had 3 of their other people on the podcast, Jill Albin, Lori Gerber, and Lauren Zander. So if you want to learn more about the Handel Group, I'm going to put a link in the show notes. You can check out what they do, who they are, and it's literally who I get coached by. So you can check that out in the show notes. Click the link, read more, learn more. I think there's some free stuff on their website. Anyway, now, without further ado, enjoy this conversation with Ty Moore. All right, we are recording a podcast. Tyreek Moore, welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Do you go by Tyreek or Ty or?
My friends refer to me as Ty, and you are now one of the crew. So call me Ty.
We're already best friends. I love it.
You work fast.
Yeah. So Ty, for people who are listening that have no idea who Ty Moore is or what your deal is, how do you describe yourself? What do you do? Who are you?
Well, Ty Moore, I am the president of the sports division at Handel Group. I also lead Handel Group's diversity efforts. And I am just a person who was invested in by some really phenomenal people in life. And I found it necessary at some point to also invest in people. So that got me to here. And there's a pretty windy, curvy road of a story that entails.
And so when you say people invested in you, what do you mean by that?
All right, so I gotta jump into the story there.
Let's do the story, man. I'm
ready to do this.
I'm ready. I'm sitting down. I got a nice cup of tea.
There we go. You're gonna need a cup of tea. All right. So I grew up in the South Bronx, New York. It's the poorest county in New York State, and I grew up there during the crack epidemic, and it was unbelievable amounts of violence and drug dealing, drug abuse, you name it. And while I'm inside of this circumstance in this environment, I am being raised by a single mother, and she's raising myself, my 2 brothers, and my sister all by herself. So she was stretched thin. She was truly a phenomenal woman. She did everything in her power to, keep all of her children away from drugs, away from the violence, but it was impossible to escape it because literally we sat right inside of it. So, but she was just such a rock solid force that she wouldn't allow the ills of the environment to really take over her children, right? And to destroy what she worked so hard to build inside of us. So I often looked at her as a model. I mean, and yeah, she is, my mother's passed now. She passed away almost 6 years ago now. And um, when I think about her, I think about the single mother in this environment. No, when she got into that environment, no degrees, nothing. By the time my youngest sister, was in high school, my mother had gotten her bachelor's degree and two master's degrees.
Damn.
Right. Like, this is really superwoman, right? So that was always a model for me. And, I learned, from her example and her strength. Like, she was very, 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 very strict, but she had to be in order to keep us from going down, some of these really tragic roads that many of our peers did. Right. So I'm in that environment, and I'm going to junior high school, CIS 229. And there was a teacher there. Her name was Miss Brown, and she was the militant teacher that everyone straightened up for, no matter how bad you were. Right? This is the one you straightened up for. Like, oh, Miss Brown coming down the hall. Miss Brown coming down the hall. One day, she calls my mom for an impromptu parent-teacher conference. That's never good, right? So my mom is like, your teacher's calling me, and what'd you do this time? I'm trying to think. I did a lot. I don't know which one this might have been. Oh, God. So she calls my mother in, and she's like, listen, your son is very, very bright. But if he goes to high school here in the South Bronx, it's going to be very difficult for him to realize, his potential. So I've created this program called Strivers for Success. And what this program does is we identify high potential students in this school. And then we prepare them to apply to some of the most remarkable boarding schools in the world, right? And I think your son would be a great candidate for that. Let me know. So her and my mother kind of collaborated on that, and they got me prepared to do that. I went to this amazing school in Connecticut called Kent School, and my entire life changed. My entire life changed, right? I came from the area that was solely Black, Blacks, Puerto Ricans, and Dominicans, right? That's what we were. I get to Kent. And I'm one of 6 Black dudes there, right? And I'm like, oh, shit, what is going on here, right? Complete culture shock. And I was a very good student in junior high school, but when I got there, the rigor of the work was just unbelievable. I got like all season a D, I think, my first semester there. So I called my mom. I was like, listen, Mom, I can't do this. My peers think I'm, about to be a drug dealer there. Like, everything is crazy here. I can't get the grades, nothing. I was like, I want to come home. Plus, all my friends are telling me how much fun they're having in public school and all of that. Dude, you just missed this party. Everything was great right before the shootout, but it was still good. Right? So next thing you know, my mom gave me my first life coaching session that I can recall. I'm sure she gave me some before that, but I think they're a little bit more, a little stronger in nature. But she said, listen, okay. And she knew me well. She knew my personality. She said, okay, Tyreek, you can come back home. If you want to allow this to beat you, no problem. It'll probably create a cycle that will repeat itself for the rest of your life. But if that's who you are, right? So understand this, Jeremy. I am super duper competitive, right? So when she was like, "Oh, you let this beat you," I was like, "Wait, what? Hey, whoa. Hey, I didn't say nothing about nothing beating me. What are you talking about, right?" So I was like, "I'm not going nowhere. I'm staying right here, okay?" And everything changed. And I'm gonna tell you the moment it changed. I've told the story a couple times. So there was this is, I think, my sophomore year, and a student pulls up, for first day of school or whatever, it was something, and he pulls up in like a Mercedes Benz or a BMW, and I'm just like, no, it was a BMW, and I'm like, oh my God, where'd you get this car from? Because where I'm from, all the dudes that drove BMWs, they're drug dealers, right? So I'm just like, how'd you get this? And he looks at me like, my dad got it for me. So matter of factly, right? And I'm just like, okay, well, how did he get it? He literally looks at me, Jeremy, like I have three heads, right? He's like, what are you talking about? The same way we're going to do it. Go to great schools, get a great job, make good money, and, buy stuff for ourselves and our kids. And it was just so matter of fact for him, and like without question, that I was taken aback. I was like, wait a minute. He's so sure of this right now. That is such an impossibility where I'm from. But he's not smarter than me. By my sophomore year, I kind of figured it out. My grades, everything. I was a pretty strong student by that point. He's not smarter than me, not better at sports than me. I was a really good athlete. If he can do it, why can't I? Everything changed in that moment. Literally, the entire trajectory of my life changed in that one moment. And I have a tattoo on my arm of the car and the school and all of that. It's actually a map that shows the story of my life, kind of, right? So, because that's how pivotal a moment it was in my life, right? I literally had to, immortalize it. So, all of a sudden, I was like, I became this enterprising thinker, right? I can do whatever I want to do. I can have whatever I want to have. So, graduate from there. Wind up going to Boston University for get my undergraduate degree in computer science there. Come out of there, start my career in technology, do some pretty strong things early in my career. And then while I'm working for this one organization that did consulting for the Department of Defense, they would farm us out sometimes, right? So, kind of contract us out. And they asked me to web enable their job candidates and new hire system. So as I'm doing it, I needed some live data in order to test my code and everything. And test my system. So I used my own stuff, and I was like, wait a minute. I think I'm doing well for myself, right? At that time. But then I saw how much they was consulting me out for. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, I should be getting that money. You know what? I should start my own tech company. I'm going to start my own tech consulting company. And immediately when I thought it, I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. It never dawned on me that wouldn't happen. That mentality was ingrained in that moment in 10th grade. Mm-hmm. So I started my own tech firm, right? My own technology consulting firm. Did pretty well. I had amazing timing too, Jeremy. I started it during the worst recession in the history of our country prior, except for the Great Depression, right? So, but, I'm proud to say never existed one day in the red, right? Bumped my head a lot, though. Learned a lot. So, I'm doing well career-wise and professionally, better than I ever thought. I'm making more money than I ever thought was possible coming from where I was from. So I was supposed to be good, but I wasn't. And that was problematic. Because I'm like, all right, I knew being poor did not feel good, right? That was very clear. So it would make sense. The opposite would ring true, that I would, if you're doing well financially, you should be happy. But that's not the case. So I started doing some soul searching as I was having this crisis of conscience, and talked to some close people to me. And one in particular said, you know what? You know why you're feeling this way? So I was like, why? It's like, you're not helping anyone. I was like, say more. He's like, right? Because the light started to flicker on. It didn't come on quite yet. It started to flicker. So he's like, well, Ty, the thing is, you're the beneficiary of people who helped you. And your natural personality is to help people. I see it everywhere. Everyone knows that about you. Everyone comes to you with their problems. You never notice that? I was like, yeah, I don't know. I just thought I was a charming person to talk to, right? Exactly. But it's like, no, like you enjoy it and you have a passion for seeing people happy and helping them get there.
Mm.
But your career doesn't do that at all. Your career just puts money in your pocket. Now I was just like, wow.
Mm.
So then I started to do lots of things, right? I started a boys club chapter at my church. I started doing motivational speaking, mainly throughout the Northeast, with kids that came from environments that I grew up with, letting them see the model in front of them, and letting them know you can be so much more than I ever could be, right? And giving them, whatever tools that I picked up along the way that allowed me to do decent in life. And that felt good, but not all the way. So I was like, I got to dive a little bit deeper. I think I have to do something in my career that's going to take me in this direction. So I'm like, how can I help and invest in, a bunch of people at one time? And as I'm thinking about that, I'm like, education. That seems it, like the ticket. So then I was like, my areas of proficiency are in business and technology. So how do I marry that which I'm proficient in with that which I have this newfound passion for? I was like, damn it, I'm going to have to go back to school. I swore I would never go back to school, by the way.
Right? I get it, man. I get it. I've been there.
Yeah, I was like, school sucks. Like, why would I want to do that again, right? But I needed to get the necessary learning in order to apply things that I've already developed as skill sets and tools in a fashion that would really create opportunity for investment in lots of people. So I needed that.
So just to clarify, it sounds like you had a vision or a dream or this little inner epiphany that was like, this is the way, I got to do this. And you did like an analysis or an inventory of yourself. And you're like, I lack a bunch of skills and abilities to pull this off. And so I need to go and get those. Is that a fair?
I need to go get those. Right? Yeah. I have all these wonderful thoughts, but there are actual tools you need in order to bring this vision you're having to fruition. Right? So remember that moment in 10th grade. I keep bringing you back to that for a reason. So I said, all right, I'm going to go back to school. But there's only one school I want to go to. So I only applied to one college for grad school, Harvard.
Harvard.
Yeah, only school I applied to. Why? Because that was my dream. And everyone told me where I came from that I couldn't have that dream. But then when I was in 10th grade, I learned that I could have whatever I want. Right? Yeah. So I did what was necessary, right? A lot. I did a lot, right? To prepare to get in, multiple visits, reaching out, using whatever contacts, connections, resources, all of that, studying really hard for the test and all of that stuff. And I got in. So I did this amazing program at Harvard, the Technology Innovation and Education Program, which is a multidisciplinary program between the degree was conferred by the Ed School, but you also had classes with the business school and the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. So amazing kind of, just opportunity to really extract all that you possibly could from that environment.
Sorry to interrupt. And then when you were searching for schools or programs, I imagine you were just like, or I suppose it was just Harvard for you. So you were like, all right, it's Harvard. And then what does Harvard have to offer? And then you're like, that's my path.
Well, as soon as I thought about schools, I knew that I needed, to marry, once again, that which I was proficient in, with that where I was trying to go. And because I went to school in Boston, I knew a lot about the programs that Harvard, MIT, Boston University, Boston College, those Boston and Cambridge schools had. So I was aware of the program
Okay.
when I did that.
Gotcha. Okay. So then please continue.
All right. So sorry, I'm taking over your interview.
Please, bro. I'm loving this.
So I graduate and I say, you know what? I am going to shift my business towards really dealing with and investing in people in an educational fashion. So I shifted my business from an information technology business to an instructional technology consulting firm, right? And instructional technology, meaning what we did was we leveraged the technology investment that schools and organizations made in an effort to increase the engagement opportunities for students and constituents. All right. So I was helping these students engage, different portions of their multiple intelligences other than just, mathematical, logical, and, English composition, reading equations, stuff like that. Like I would create, use technology to create Jeopardy games that prepared students for statewide tests, and it was pretty great work. So students were coming up to me like, "I get it! Oh my God, I totally get it!" And I have this. I will never forget the first school that I worked with. The students, they got their statewide test back, and like the jump was incredible, right, from the prior year to this year, as they kept score of these kids. And they all wrote me letters and they put it in this little booklet and they made me this little booklet. Thank you so much. And every kid said their thing. And I was like, this is the feeling I've been chasing forever. I've been chasing this. I've been chasing this now for how many years? And I finally feel it. So what happened there, and this all of this is going to tie it well into what I do now. You'll see in a little bit. So I said, I need more. Right? Oh, this is good. I need more. So I started really expanding the business to work with a bunch of charter schools in particular in the New York City area, simply because charter schools, they were founded to create an innovative opportunity to close the achievement and equity gap. And I was like, that's the space that I'm really trying to operate in as well. So I was really excited about that. And I am at an event running to a colleague, like, yeah, Ty, tell me what you're doing right now. Tell him what I'm doing. He's like, that's great stuff, man. Good for you. Like, thanks. I feel good about it. He's like, you know what? You ever thought about being a college professor? Now, he was the dean of the business school at a college. And I was like, no. He's like, I think you should. He was like, you're engaging. You obviously have this desire to work with people and invest in people. He's like, how about this? Come in, do a teaching demo. If you don't like it, you didn't lose anything. If you do, let's see where it goes. I went in, did the teaching demo. Oh my goodness, I fell in love. Right? I was just seeing the light bulbs just come. Now I'm in front of the class, right? And I'm seeing the light bulbs come up. People who just couldn't get certain concepts for whatever reason, I was able to communicate it and demonstrate it in a way that it actually resonated with them. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. So I went on to become a full-time professor as well. So I taught business courses, mainly principles of management, project management, entrepreneurship, sports management. And I was really excited about that work. But I wanted more, right? So I also went on to take on the role of chief operating officer for the largest non-network charter school in New York State. I believe they still are, maybe not. But that was so now I had this opportunity to invest in middle school children, high school young men and women, grad, college, and then post-grad, right? Awesome. So I'm like, you know what? I want to invest in adults too, right? So I tell my wife, I'm like, listen, honey, I told you I wanted to be a life coach before. Just in a passing conversation. She's like, yeah, Ty, that was lots of years ago. What are we talking about? I was like, would you like to take a ride again? She's like, oh God, what are you talking about? Right? Because as you can hear, my career kind of went, in this windy road. And I was like, I want to be a life coach. I want to help people achieve their dreams. Watch how this works. So as we have this conversation, around 2 weeks later, my wife's a nurse, and at that point she was working in aesthetics nursing, and at her business she's working with a client, and they're talking yada yada yada, get into some small talk. Tell me a little bit about your husband. Oh yeah, this is kind of who he is. Da, 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 da. He has these type of interests. These are the things he's passionate about. And the woman goes, it sounds like he'd be a great coach for us. Who's that woman? Lauren Zander. The co-founder of the largest executive life coaching company in the world, right? So she's like, get him on the phone with my sister right away. Her sister is Beth, who is co-founder, runs the corporate division. So we talk, and it was almost like love at first sound, right? Because it was on the phone, we didn't see each other. So in the middle of the conversation, Beth goes, all right, yeah, this is going to work. Yeah, I want you. I was like, I didn't realize this was an interview.
Yeah, want me for what? What are you talking about?
Right, exactly. She's like, so this is what we're doing. This is what we have in mind. Yeah, it's amazing that you say you're an athlete and that you have this passion for sports because we're trying to launch this sports division and yada yada. So it was like perfect. So that's how I ended up at the Handel Group. And at Handel, we talk about authoring your life. And you're authoring your life. You're authoring your life where these three things are present. In any area where these three things are present, where you're happy, you're proud, and you're effective, right? We call it authoring because this is when you put the pen to the pad and you write the way the story goes. And what I learned inside of that is that I had began authoring all the way back in the 10th grade. And I just kept authoring. I kept authoring. And when I spoke it into the universe, once you really become good at authoring, you just speak things into the universe, and the universe is forced to capitulate to that which you're urging. And that's really what we do. And that's what I did. That's my story.
So just to expand on that, because I've heard a lot of guests on this podcast mention a similar idea, this like law of attraction, spiritual woo-woo. You just have to ask the universe and the universe provides. And I've seen the ramifications of that in clients who are feeling angsty, upset, disappointed, frustrated because they've written it down and it hasn't happened. And so when you say authoring your life, I know that there is more than that.
Yeah.
So I just want to
do something. You can think about stuff all you want.
So I just want to flag that to somebody listening right now. It's like maybe you could expand on what that process is, or some of the key principles that you guys teach. Or
for sure. So what we know for sure is that happy people are people who are well connected to their dreams, right? Happy people are people who are well connected to their dreams. You know who's very good at dreaming? Kids. You ask a 6-year-old, hey, what do you want to be when you get older? I want to be an astronaut, and I'm going to fly to the moon, and I'm going to build a house up there, and I'm going to build a house for my parents. And for my mom, she's going to need her garden because she has her peppers and she has her onions and she has all her stuff that she likes to garden and do all her stuff. My dad, he's going to have the most amazing shed ever because my dad likes to build stuff. I guess I need to build something for my sister too, but she's really annoying. So I'll build something maybe 3 blocks down for her, right? They will be so descriptive about what their dream is. And there's nothing you can tell them that will make them believe that dream won't come true. They're just like, no, this is what's going to happen. So it's no wonder why the age of peak plasticity for human beings, right? Really between like 0 and like 11, right? Maybe a little less. Because we haven't come up against the dirty R word. Ready for the dirty R word? Reality. When we get older, we start to tether our dreams to our reality. We tether our dreams to our experiences, our disappointments. And now we're saying, yeah, I want someone's dream will sound like, I just want today to be better than yesterday. That would be great. That's an awful dream, right? So that's the challenge there. That's the challenge. So what happens is this. What we do is first help you get back to that childhood, way of crafting a dream. Okay? After that, we put an action plan in place. You can't just, I would love to be like, hey, just say it and watch it show up tomorrow. if I had that power, Jeremy, I don't know if you have the UB interview. I'd be on, I don't know, whoever, the Oprah. I don't know who's the Oprah now, right? But I'd be getting interviewed by them because I'd be a gazillionaire, right? But that's not how it works, right? It works through action. It works through understanding the internal limitations that we create in ourselves and being able to remediate those, being able to pull those apart, being able to leash them, right? In our method, we know that we're all after results. And when I say a dream, and I always tell this to my clients, I'm not talking about leprechauns, and pots of gold at the end and unicorns and stuff like that. All a dream is, for me, is a designed result. That's it. And we're all after results. That's what we're all after. I want to have a great relationship with my partner. I want to be healthy, and spry. I want to be financially healthy and in a good place. I want to do well in my career. I want my kids to be well adjusted. These are all results we're trying to produce. Okay? And when you design that, that's a dream. That's it. Thing is, we lose sight of what it takes to get there. We know that actions lead to results, right? So we go straight to actions. But actions, there's something so much bigger than actions. And I could prove it because we're still in January and New Year's resolution time just passed. What's the biggest New Year's resolution ever made?
Lose the weight.
Yes, lose the weight. Ding, 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 you win the prize, my friend. So what happens is people try to tweak actions to produce that result. That's a result that they're trying. A New Year's resolution is a result that people are trying to produce. It's a dream. It's a designed result. So they try to tweak an action to get there. And it rarely works. Rarely works. An action that many people try to tweak, I'm going to get a gym membership. That'll do it. So gyms are packed that first week of the year. And then the second week, not so much. And then the third week, not so much. Why? Because all you try to do is tweak an action in order to produce a new result, and that doesn't work. What we know is that your results will always be consistent with your inner dialogue. And there are certain voices in your inner dialogue. We talk about, the voice of fear, the voice of stubbornness. We talk about the voice of victimhood. We've given those really funny names so they're easy to remember: your chicken, your brat, and your weather reporter. We go into that so you can understand the voices in your inner dialogue that actually produce the results, because your inner dialogue drives your actions. What you say to yourself decides what you do. That produces results. But there's a source to all of that, and that's really where we are truly phenomenal as an organization in getting people to actually do work in. And that's the source are your beliefs, your theories, and your traits. Beliefs are hard-packed assumptions that exist passively in your mind. They're your personal laws. Think about a belief. If you believe it, you prove it. I promise you, if I believe my boss is a jerk, I guarantee you I can prove it. Right? I have clients. There are no good men in the world, and they prove it every day. Right? That's how beliefs work. So if I believe that, that's going to inform my inner dialogue. It's going to trigger one of those three voices, the chicken, the brat, or the weather reporter. That voice is going to drive an action, which is going to produce a result. And that's how it works. And it's similar with theories. And then with traits, we all have traits that were handed down to us from our primary caregivers, right? Stubbornness, procrastination, judgmental, critical, lying, martyr. We have all of these traits. And these traits do the same thing. They determine what we think, right? If I have a stubborn trait and I'm waiting, 5 minutes longer than I think I should wait for something, it's going to, my inner dialogue is going to be, I can't believe Jeremy got me waiting this thing. You know what? Who is Jeremy? That's where my inner dialogue goes. That drives an action. I get to you, Jeremy, I give you a piece of my mind. That produces a result. I was actually looking to partner with Jeremy, and he's not really looking to do that with me anymore. And that's how it works. And then people are like, why am I not achieving my dreams? Because you're not clearing out all of those things that's getting in the way. We help you identify those things, and we give you the tools with which to remediate those things, to mitigate those things, to leash the traits, all of that stuff. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's like doing the work, right? Is the common phrase, and the way I've heard it described most succinctly, but most powerfully, is simply that the work works. The end, but you have to actually do it. And I think what you've touched on is that a lot of people are out there putting in a lot of effort and a lot of time, and they've been doing it a long time, but they're kind of spinning their wheel, so to speak, or the engine's revving up, but it's not actually getting them the results or the life that they desire. And then it kind of creates this cycle of frustration and, oh, this will never work and I can't do that, right? And so it sounds like what you guys are doing is providing a template or a blueprint or a plan. It's like, start here, do this shit, then go here, do that next, and lather, rinse, repeat.
We're very action-based. We have you do the investigation, the self-exploration, and many people don't want to do it because that's tough. It's not easy. When you have to come face to face with yourself, that's a difficult confrontation.
And a difficult conversation.
Absolutely.
Like, oh man, I do that thing. And that, though, I think is why it's so important to hire a coach or a therapist or a trusted friend who will actually tell you the truth. You're like, you do this thing, right? That's Jill Albin is who I work with, and she's been on the podcast along with Lori Gerber and Lauren Zander, who are also colleagues of yours. Yeah. She'll say things very succinctly, just like, you're doing that thing again, right? And I'm like, what? Sorry? What? Me? No, I'm not doing that thing. What are you talking about? Like, shoot, I am. Yeah.
I never go that thing.
So for you individually, are you continually doing the work now? Like, is it coming up? Are you facing a new edge? Are you uncovering things week to week?
For myself?
Yeah, individually.
Every day. So it's interesting. In our organization, we're very much, walk it like you talk it, right? So if we telling clients this, we better be about it. And we get called out on the regular. Like Jill calls you out.
Yeah.
My coach called, every coach in our organization, no matter how high you are an executive, right? So I'm one of the executives in the organization, and then there's the partners that are above. Even the partners have coaches, right? And your coach is going to call you out. The coach is going to make sure you're living with integrity. And when we say integrity, what we mean is, personal integrity is when your head, your heart, and your actions all align with your highest values. So when you're doing something or thinking something or believing something that doesn't align with your highest value, you're out of integrity and you're going to get called out on it. And you better call yourself out on it first, because don't let us get to you. Like, as kind as Jill is with you in your sessions, we are not that kind with each other. Because it's important that we do this work so that we can really be in integrity when we're working with our clients.
Do you have Do you have an example, like a personal example of something that's come up for you where you've been called out, or you've had an epiphany of sorts where you're like, oh, dang. Because I think I asked for an example because for someone listening, that's like, what does it actually look like to be called out, or to have integrity, or to discover a pattern or a theory or whatever? Do you have something that comes to mind?
Absolutely. So I was my coach at the time. Her name was Rosa, or is Rosa. She is one of my favorite people right now. She was not one of my favorite people then. So I was working with her. We're working with this big client, and there's a lot of data that we had to put in spreadsheets and determine sessions and who gets what and all of that stuff. So did it, sent her the spreadsheet, and she responds to me, Titus lacks integrity. I was like, what? She was like, there's one side of one of the cells that's not bolded here. There was so much information in this damn spreadsheet. And she's talking about one side and one cell. There was multiple tabs. What the? So I immediately got pissed, right? And all my traits came up, because that's what happens. And when you get into times of heightened emotion, your traits really present themselves. And I was like, and I told her, I said, no, this is this and that is that. She was like, all right, so a bunch of your traits are showing up, Ty. I need you to see them. She was like, number one, your defensive trait right now is on 10. She was like, that's number one. Number two, you had a sloppy trait in doing this in the first place. You knew this wasn't impeccable. Why would you send that? Right? And lastly, I feel your cold trait too. Because what I'm hearing is you don't even care about the impact that this has as it relates to what we're trying to do. And I was like, oh. Had to talk myself down a bit, right? We have this concept, this principle called a purge and a talk back, right? So a purge is, I'm sure you've done a purge with Jill.
A little bit familiar, yeah.
Right, where you just go in on whatever the negative inner dialogue you have in your head. So I purged it out, and then I did a talk back. And inside of my talk back, I understood what was going on. She knew that for me to be the best version of myself that I could be for the organization and ultimately for our clients, I needed to be as impeccable as possible. And she believed in me enough that she's like, I could have stepped over it. She told me I could have stepped over this time, but that would be doing you a disservice. Mm. And that's what we do with each other, right? And I became a better version of myself, and my love for her grew exponentially because I saw she cared enough not to step over it, not to just skip over it. She knew I was going to be pissed. She knew I didn't want to hear that shit, right? Mm-hmm. But she cared enough that she was willing to take whatever that was going to come with that for the betterment of myself, of me, right? And that's who we are as an organization. That's what we do with our clients.
Maybe you can speak to that from her perspective, because for me, what comes up is she had to have a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
And she chose to do that rather than just clicking the column and pushing Control B and fixing it and being done with it.
It would have taken her 2 seconds to do that. It took us to resolve this at least an hour. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to what we talked about a couple minutes ago. She would have been out of integrity if she stepped over it. Would that action align with her highest value? No. So she would have been out of integrity, and she would have then also allowed me to sit outside of integrity. So the conversation that she had with herself was, no, I'm not going to lower my integrity for him. And I care enough about him that I want his integrity to be as strong as it can be. That he can always be in integrity. Forget how strong or weak it is. That he could just be in integrity, right? So that's the conversation that she had on her side. And it's remarkable. Because like you said, she could have just, bold the cell and just be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
But she refused to take that easy road out, really, um, because of her care for me.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, right? Is that because she cares, she's having the hard conversation.
Correct.
An interesting reframe, right? So the way that my girlfriend and I deal with this is just A plus, A minus is the way that we've described it. Thanks to some conversations I've had with Jill in the past, where I'm like, and it came from me from understanding that in high school, a 4.0 is a 90.0 to a 100% in a class. You get a 4.0, it's an A. So for me, I learned that an A minus is as valuable based on that system as an A plus. So I didn't care about an A plus. An A plus seemed inefficient to me. It seemed like a waste of time to put in 10% extra effort if you're going to get a 4.0 regardless. So I developed this kind of trait around A minus is good enough, right? And I'm dating this ninja queen who is very high integrity. And we had a couple conversations. We're like, no, we're going to have an A plus relationship. We're going to be A plus people, and we're going to have an A plus apartment, and we're going to have A plus food and all of this, right? And so sometimes a check-in for us is simply like, that's some A minus shit right there. And it's like, and exactly as you described, I feel myself, and I've seen her facial expression change. The defensiveness and the wanting to be right comes up, and then that's the moment when actually the invitation to the work presents itself. It's like, right in this door, my friend.
That's right.
We have some things to observe.
And it's awesome that you have that type of person that's not going to allow you to be an A minus. That's awesome.
It's awesome 99% of the time. And then the 1% of the time where I'm getting called out, I'm like, come on, can't I just leave the dish on the counter for a minute? So yeah, Ty, I appreciate you sharing, and I'm conscious of your time, and I want to stay in A plus integrity because we agreed to be done in a certain time. But where can people find you on the internet? Are you on Instagram? Or I can share some stuff from the Handel Group, of course. But
sure.
Any final thoughts as well?
So you could find me on Instagram. My handle is Executive Coach Ty. On LinkedIn, just look up Tyreek Moore. That's probably the two places where you would best find me. And then Google to see some of the stuff I do or have done. And then last words, final thoughts. My final thoughts are this. You're going to be authoring no matter what, right? You're either going to author things you really are desirous of and passionate about, or you're going to author an existence that you're not very happy about. The choice is yours. And the power is also yours. But the power just doesn't come with words, it comes with work.
So if you're listening, do the work. We invite you to do the work.
That's right.
Brother, thanks so much for your time and energy and all that you do in the world, man. It's supremely impressive and inspiring. And I just love connecting with you, man.
Absolutely. Let me know any other time you want to connect. The pleasure was all mine, my brother.
Absolutely. He's so good, right? Ty Moore. Follow him on LinkedIn. Follow him on Instagram. I'll include links to those in the show notes. I'm also going to include a link to the Handel Group. You can check out all of their programs and offerings, get yourself some coaching, do the work, author a new life story. As for me, you can find me on Instagram at Long Distance Love Bombs. I would appreciate if you have a moment to leave a 5-star review, maybe leave a review, a comment, something that makes me smile. It does help feed the algorithm, helps me generate legitimacy when I approach guests and say, hey, I'm a guy. Do you want to talk to me for an hour? So that is always appreciated. If you've got people in your life that you know would benefit from this conversation that I just had with Ty, do send it to them. Say, hey, I love this. I think you might love this too. Let's spread the positive word in the world. Let's change some lives, and we can do it together. So thank you for being here. I adore you. I so appreciate you, and I will talk to you soon.